The glass shattered against the mahogany wall of Andrew's corner office, shards raining down like the remnants of his unraveling empire. "You're fired," he snarled, his voice a blade honed from years of boardroom battles. But his eyes, those damn betraying eyes, flickered with something softer, something he couldn't name. In the silence that followed, as the executive slunk out like a whipped dog, Andrew collapsed into his leather chair, the city lights of Manhattan blurring through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and whispered to the empty room, "God, why does it have to hurt this much?" Andrew Hale had built his kingdom on the unyielding bedrock of discipline. At 35, he was the youngest CEO to steer Voss and Hale Enterprises through the 2008 crash and into the stratosphere of Wall Street darlings. His suits were bespoke Italian wool, his schedule a fortress of 90-minute meetings and zero-tolerance policies. No fraternization. No distractions. And above all, no weakness. That's what the company handbook preached, etched in legalese under his own signature. But as the autumn rain lashed against his penthouse windows that October evening in 2015, Andrew stared at his reflection in the polished steel of his bar cart, wondering when the man in the mirror had become a stranger. It started with a memo. Simple. Really. Effective immediately, it read. All inter-office relationships are prohibited. Violations will result in immediate termination. He drafted it after hours, fueled by black coffee and the ghost of a memory, a summer internship at 22. Stolen kisses in the supply closet with a fellow intern named Marcus. Marx. With his easy laugh and calloused hands from weekend carpentry. Marx. Who got fired first, then ghosted him with a text, "Can't risk it." Sorry. Andrew had risen through the ranks by burying that ache, turning it into fuel for late nights and ruthless mergers. SEO. He'd make sure no one else felt that knife twist. The board applauded the policy at the next quarterly review, their golf-tanned faces nodding like bobbleheads. Smart move. Andy, chuckled old man Voss from his emeritus seat, clapping a liver-spotted hand on Andrew's shoulder. Keeps the focus on profits, not playtime. Andrew forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach his eyes, and excused himself to the executive washroom. Under the hum of fluorescent lights, he splashed cold water on his face, gripping the marble sink until his knuckles whitened. Focus, he told himself. That's all it is. But focus fractured the day Javier Ruiz walked into his life. It was a Tuesday, gray skies pressing down on Midtown like a bad omen. Andrew was knee-deep in a pitch for the biggest acquisition of his tenure, a biotech startup out of Silicon Valley that promised to revolutionize personalized medicine. The conference room buzzed with analysts and lawyers, projections flickering on the smartboard like fireflies in a jar. Then the door swung open, and in strode Javier, the startup's wunderkind founder, 15 minutes late and looking like he just rolled out of a rock concert. Javier was everything Andrew wasn't, unapologetically alive. Late 30s, with sun-kissed skin from too many California weekends, a mop of black curls that defied any comb, and hazel eyes that sparkled with the kind of mischief that made VCs empty their pockets. He wore a faded Led Zeppelin tee under a blazer that screamed, "I bought this at a flea market," jeans ripped at the knees, and scuffed Converse that squeaked on the polished floor. "Sorry. Traffic from the bridge was a nightmare," he said, flashing a grin that lit up the room like a rogue firework. He dropped into the seat across from Andrew, their knees brushing under the table. Accidental? Surely, and extended a hand. Javier Ruiz. You must be the shark they warned me about. Andrew's pulse stuttered. He clasped Javier's hand, warm and calloused, the kind of grip that spoke of lab benches and late-night prototypes, not corner offices. Andrew Hale, he replied, his voice steady as granite. And we're not sharks. We're surgeons. Precise. Incisive. Javier's laugh was low, rumbling, like thunder rolling in from the bay. Surgeons? Guess that makes me the patient. Just don't cut out my heart. The room chuckled politely, but Andrew felt the words lodge in his chest like shrapnel. By the end of the meeting, the deal was all but sealed. Javier's tech was gold, and Voss and Hale had the capital to scale it nationwide. As the suits filed out, Javier lingered, slinging his messenger bag over one shoulder. Hey, Andrew, mind if I call you that? Drinks later? To celebrate not getting vivisected? Andrew's mind screamed no. The handbook. The policy. His own ironclad rules. But his mouth betrayed him. The Oak Room. 8 sharp. That night, under the amber glow of the Oak Room's chandeliers, Javier ordered tequila neat and talked like the world was his playground. He was born in East LA, son of Mexican immigrants who ran a taqueria that's slinging tacos to Hollywood hopefuls. Dad always said, "Mijo, life's too short for bad salsa." So I built Ruiz Biolabs to fix what salsa can't, broken bodies. Andrew sipped his scotch, mesmerized by the way Javier's hands animated every story, fingers tracing invisible circuits in the air. They talked CRISPR edits and market caps, but it veered personal fast. Javier's divorce from his college sweetheart, a woman who'd realized she loved women more. It sucked. But hey, set us both free. What's your poison, Andrew? The one that keeps you up at night. Andrew hesitated, the scotch burning a path to his gut. Work, he lied, but his eyes dipped to Javier's mouth, full and curved in that perpetual half-smile. Javier noticed, of course he did, and leaned in, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Bullshit. I see it in you. Though, like you're carrying the whole damn skyline on your shoulders. By midnight, they were stumbling out into the drizzle. Javier's arms slung casual around Andrew's waist to steady him, just friendly, Andrew told himself. But at the cab stand, Javier turned, rain slicking his curls, and cupped Andrew's jaw with a gentleness that unraveled him. You're not as buttoned up as you pretend, he murmured, thumb brushing Andrew's lower lip. Then he kissed him. Not tentative, not testing, deep and claiming, tasting of tequila and promise. Andrew's world tilted, hands fisting in Javier's wet shirt, pulling him closer as horns blared and pedestrians blurred into shadows. They broke apart gasping, Javier's eyes dark with hunger. Your place or mine? Andrew's brain short-circuited. The rules. The betrayal waiting in the wings. But his body, starved for touch. Mine. The penthouse was a sterile monument to success, minimalist furniture, abstract art in blacks and grays, a king bed that had seen more solo nights than shared. Javier kicked off his shoes in the foyer, trailing water like a comet's tail, and Andrew followed, shedding his jacket, his defenses. In the bedroom, clothes hit the floor in a frenzy, Javier's body lean and scarred from a childhood bike wreck. Andrew sculpted from dawn gym sessions and suppressed longing. They moved like men drowning, Javier's mouth mapping Andrew's collarbone, his ribs whispering beautiful and mine against sweat-slick skin. Andrew arched under him, nails digging into Javier's back, the world narrowing to the heat between them. It was raw, urgent, Javier inside him, slow at first, then building to a rhythm that shattered the silence. Andrew came undone with a cry he muffled into the pillow, Javier following with a groan that vibrated through them both. Tangled in sheets that smelled of salt and sex, Javier traced lazy patterns on Andrew's chest. "That policy of yours," he said softly, "it's gotta be lonely as hell." Andrew stiffened, reality crashing back. "It's necessary." But as Javier slept beside him, chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm, Andrew stared at the ceiling, the first crack in his fortress widening. He craved this, Javier's warmth, his unfiltered joy, like air after suffocation. And that terrified him more than any hostile takeover. Weeks blurred into a secret symphony. Stolen lunches at hidden bistros in the village, where Javier fed Andrew bites of empanada from his own fork, laughing when sauce dotted Andrew's tie. Late nights in Andrew's office after hours, Javier sprawled on the leather couch, laptop open to code while Andrew pored over contracts, their feet entwined under the desk. Javier brought life to the sterile space, vases of wildflowers swiped from Central Park, a battered acoustic guitar propped in the corner that he'd strum softly on slow days, singing off-key covers of Springsteen that made Andrew's heart ache with homesickness for a youth he never fully lived. "You're changing me," Andrew confessed one evening, as they lay on the office rug, city lights painting their skin in neon strokes. Javier propped on an elbow, curls falling into his eyes. "But you need shaking up. Life's not a balance sheet." He kissed Andrew then, slow and deep, hands roaming with a reverence that felt like worship. Andrew melted into it, letting himself believe, just for a moment, that rules could bend. But bends become breaks. The acquisition closed in a blaze of press releases and champagne toasts. Javier's team integrated seamlessly into Voss and Hale's Brooklyn labs, his office just 2 floors below Andrew's. Proximity bred recklessness, a brush of hands in the elevator, Javier's foot nudging Andrew's under conference tables, texts that read like foreplay, "Miss your mouth already. Lab's boring without you." Andrew deleted them obsessively, but the thrill gnawed at him. A sweet poison. The first warning came from Elena, his executive assistant, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who'd been with him since the lean years. She knocked on his door one crisp November morning, arms crossed over her cream blouse. "Andrew, we need to talk about Ruiz." He looked up from his screen, heart lurching. "What about him?" Elena's gaze was steel. "Rumors. People are noticing. Familiarity. In a good company, that's fine. But with your policy, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen." Andrew's mouth went dry. "Handle it." Discreetly. She nodded, but her eyes lingered, pity flickering like a faulty bulb. "Just be careful. For both your sakes." That night, Javier showed up at the penthouse with takeout from his parents' old spot, carnitas tacos wrapped in foil, still steaming. They ate cross-legged on the floor, Javier recounting a lab mishap with an intern who'd accidentally sequenced a mouse's genome into a playlist algorithm. Andrew laughed, the sound foreign in his throat, and pulled Javier down for a kiss that tasted like lime and home. But as they made love on the living room rug, Javier's hips grinding slow and deliberate, Andrew's mind raced. What if Elena's right? What if this ends us both? He pushed the thought down, deeper, until it festered. The next day, in a board meeting, old man Voss leaned over, breath sour with mints. Heard your new golden boy Ruiz is fitting in swell. Just keep him leashed? No funny business. Andrew's smile was a rictus. Understood. By December, the affair was a live wire. Javier invited him to a holiday party at the labs, low-key. Scientists in ugly sweaters mixing eggnog with gene splicers. Andrew declined, citing a gala, but showed up anyway, slipping in through the service door like a thief. The warehouse space pulsed with indie rock and laughter. String lights draped over pipettes and Bunsen burners. Javier spotted him immediately, eyes lighting like Christmas. He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling Andrew into a shadowed alcove behind a centrifuge. You came, he breathed, hands framing Andrew's face. Thought you'd bail. Couldn't stay away. Andrew's voice cracked, and Javier kissed him fiercely, bodies pressing urgent against cold metal. It was stupid, anyone could walk by, but the risk ignited them. Javier's teeth grazing Andrew's neck, whispering I love you for the first time like a vow. Andrew froze. The word hung heavy, a chain around his neck. Javier. But Javier just smiled, thumb stroking Andrew's cheek. Say it back when you're ready. No rush. They left separately, Andrew's heart a war drum. Back in the penthouse, alone with a tumbler of bourbon, he Googled corporate liability same-sex relationships. Pages of warnings scrolled, discrimination suits, stock dips, ruined careers. Marcus's text echoed from 13 years ago. Can't risk it. The betrayal brewed slow, like a storm over the Hudson. It started with a leaked email, Javier's, forwarded innocently to the wrong thread, containing a draft pitch deck with notes like ask Andrew about Q4 projections, over dinner. Elena found it, buried it, but the damage seeped. Whispers in the break room, Ruiz and the boss. Can't be. Then photo, grainy. From a security cam in the garage. Andrew's hand on Javier's lower back as they entered the elevator after hours. Voss called him in the next morning, face thunderous. What the hell is this? Your golden rule. Broken by the king himself. Andrew's stomach plummeted. It's nothing. A misunderstanding. Voss slammed the printout down. Fix it. Or I will. And trust me. Boy, you won't like my scalpel. Andrew stormed out, fists clenched, and took the stairs to Javier's floor. The lab was a hive, white coats bustling, machines humming like contented bees. Javier looked up from a microscope, grin fading at Andrew's expression. Hey, what's office? Now, Andrew's tone was ice. Javier followed, confusion etching lines around his eyes. In the glass-walled conference room, Andrew whirled. Do you have any idea what you've done? Javier blinked. What, the email? I fixed that. Not just that. The photo. The rumors. Voss knows. Andrew's voice rose, cracking like thin ice. Javier reached for him, but Andrew jerked back. It's over. I told you the rules. Javier's face crumpled, hurt flashing raw. Rules? Or your fear? Andrew? This isn't about the company. It's about you hiding who you are. Get out. The words tasted like ash. Javier searched his eyes, pleading silent, then nodded once. Fine. But you're not fooling anyone but yourself. He walked out, shoulders squared, leaving Andrew in the echo of his own pulse. That night, Andrew drank until the skyline swam. Javier's "I love you" a ghost in the silence. He'd saved his empire, but the cost carved hollow where his heart used to beat. The holidays descended on New York like a velvet shroud, masking the city's pulse under twinkling lights and forced cheer. Andrew threw himself into the frenzy, gala after gala. Ribbon cuttings for Voss and Hale's new initiatives. Toasts to unwavering focus that left a bitter aftertaste. He smiled for the cameras, networked with senators and starlets, but each night ended the same, stumbling into his penthouse. The bed vast and empty. Javier's scent long faded from the sheets. He'd scroll through his phone, thumb hovering over delete, staring at the last text. If you change your mind, you know where to find me. He didn't. Couldn't. The board had eyes everywhere now, Elena's discreet reports, Voss's gruff check-ins. Good call on Ruiz, the old man grunted over cigars at the plaza. Kept it clean. Andrew nodded, smoke curling like accusations, and excused himself to the balcony, where the wind whipped his tie like a noose. As if love could be laundered that easily. Javier vanished from the labs by New Year's. Word filtered down, he'd taken a sabbatical, heading back to California to recharge. Andrew told himself it was relief. A clean sever. But his body rebelled, sleepless nights, appetite gone. The gym a punishment where weights felt heavier, sweat tasting of regret. In meetings, his mind wandered to Javier's laugh, the way his curls caught the lab fluorescence, and he'd snap back, barking orders sharper than intended. Elena noticed, sliding chamomile tea onto his desk with a sympathetic glance. You look like hell. Boss. Take a day. I don't take days, he snapped, then softened. Sorry. The acquisition's teething pains. She didn't buy it, but she left him to his misery. January thawed into a brutal February, snow piling like unspoken grief. The biotech rollout hit snags, regulatory hurdles, a whistleblower claiming data fudged, and Andrew dove deeper. 12-hour days bleeding into weekends. To his armor, this workaholism, shielding the bruise Javier left on his soul. But cracks showed, a merger pitch botched in Atlanta, where he blanked on figures mid-slide. The room's silence deafening. Back in his hotel, alone with room service steak going cold, he caved and called Marcus. The number still worked. After all these years. Andrew? Holy shit. Man. Marcus's voice was warm. Laced with that Jersey twang. They met at a dive bar off Times Square the next week. Marcus brought her now. A wedding band glinting. 2 kids tugging at his pant legs and old photos on his phone. Heard you hit the big time. Impressive. Andrew nursed a beer. The phone bitter. Something. They talked shop, then circled to the past. That summer, Andrew started, voice low. After you left. I get it now. The fear. Marcus leaned back. Eyes kind. I was a coward. Scared of losing the job. The future. But hiding? That shit eats you alive. You seeing anyone now? The question hung. Andrew thought of Javier's hands. Steady on his hips. Not anymore. Marcus clapped his shoulder. Don't wait till you're my age to fix it. Life's too short for boardroom ghosts. The words echoed as Andrew flew home. The plane dipping through turbulence that mirrored his gut. He landed resolved, and it clean. Move on, but fate. That cruel curator had other plans. The whistleblower scandal exploded on a Monday morning. Front page Wall Street Journal, Voss and Hale's miracle drug, smoke and mirrors? Javier's name wasn't mentioned. But his tech was ground zero. Reporters swarmed the lobby, cameras flashing like paparazzi hounds. Andrew barricaded in his office, phone lines jammed, Voss bellowing from the speaker, "Find Ruiz. He started this fire, let him put it out." Elena burst in, face pale. He's back. In the city. Pulled strings. Andrew's heart seized. Where? His hotel. The Standard. High Line. She hesitated. Andrew. Be careful. The cab ride down was agony. Manhattan's arteries clogged with rush hour. Andrew's mind raced. Accusations? Denials? The policy he'd wielded like a sword now turning on him. Javier opened the door in sweatpants and a threadbare Stanford tee. Curls wild. Eyes shadowed with his own exhaustion. You. Me. Andrew stepped inside. The room a chaos of takeout boxes and laptops. City views framing Javier like a portrait in disarray. The journal. Voss thinks you leaked. Javier laughed. Bitter. I didn't. But good to know where we stand. He poured 2 fingers of whiskey, handing one over. Their fingers brushed. Electricity sparking despite the chill. Andrew sipped. The burn steadying. I came to apologize for pushing you away. Javier's gaze softened. But wariness lingered. Why now? Empire crumbling? No. Andrew set the glass down, closing the distance. Because I miss you. Every damn day. The admission cracked something open, raw and aching. Javier searched his face, then pulled him in, not gentle, but fierce. Mouths crashing like waves on jagged rock. They stumbled to the bed, clothes shedding in fury, bodies remembering every curve and scar. Javier moved over him with a desperation that bordered on punishment, hands pinning Andrew's wrists, whispering "fool" and "mine" against his throat. Andrew surrendered, legs wrapping tight, the release shattering them both in a storm of gasps and salt. Slick and spent, Javier traced the line of Andrew's jaw. This doesn't fix the leak. Or us. I know. Andrew's voice was hoarse. But it's a start. They lay there, hearts sinking, plotting in murmurs. Javier's contacts to trace the real whistleblower. Andrew's lawyers to spin the narrative. By dawn, plan coalesced, risky, but theirs. The days that followed were a high-wire act. Javier holed up in Andrew's penthouse. Consulting remotely, while they sifted data. Mornings bled into strategy sessions on the kitchen island, coffee steaming as Javier's foot hooked Andrew's calf under the stool. Afternoons dissolved into lazy explorations, Javier's mouth on Andrew's belly, slow and teasing, drawing out moans that echoed off marble counters. "You're addictive," Javier growled once, fingers curling inside him until Andrew begged, the world beyond the windows forgotten. But shadows loomed. Vas demanded Javier's head. The board whispered of audits. Andrew shielded him, stonewalling with memos and misdirections, but guilt gnawed. "I'm using him." Fin. One night, as snow dusted the balcony, Javier found him there, staring at the frozen river. "Talk to me." Andrew turned, wind tousling his hair. "What if this tanks everything? Your career?" "Mine." Javier stepped close, hands warm on Andrew's hips. "Then we build something new. Together." He kissed Andrew's temple. "So, I love you. Remember? No half measures." The words unlocked something fierce. Andrew pulled him inside, pressing him against the glass, dropping to his knees in a worship of flesh and forgiveness. Javier's head fell back, fingers threading through Andrew's hair. A litany of yes and Andrew spilling as he came undone. The climax hit on Valentine's Day, a Thursday laced with irony. The real leaker, a disgruntled mid-level exec jealous of Javier's rise, cracked under Elena's quiet interrogation, spilling docs that cleared Ruiz biolabs. Andrew called an emergency board meeting. Vas's face purple on the video feed as Andrew laid it out. The truth, unvarnished. "We almost scapegoated the wrong man. The man who saved this company." Silence. Then Vas's grudging nod. "Fine. But the policy stays," Andrew cut in, voice steel. "For now." He hung up, turning to Javier, who waited in the wings, as proud. "You did it. We did." Javier pulled him close, but Andrew's smile faltered. "There's more." The more was a folder Elena had slipped him that morning. HR complaints? Anonymous tips about inappropriate conduct between executives. The photo. The elevator footage. Now digitized and damning. "They know about us," Andrew said, handing it over. Javier scanned it, jaw tightening. And I have to choose." The words hung. A guillotine. Javier's eyes darkened. "Me or the throne?" Andrew recoiled. "It's not, isn't it?" Javier's voice rose, hurt lacing the edges. "You've been dancing this line since day one." Deny. Control. "I'm done being your secret." Andrew. The fight erupted like dry tinder, accusations flying. Andrew defending his empire. Javier demanding authenticity. "I built this from nothing," Andrew shouted, pacing the office they'd commandeered. "You think I can just?" "Yes. Because loving me isn't nothing, it's everything." Javier's face twisted, tears glinting. Or was that pillow talk? Andrew stopped, chest heaving. The truth clawed up. Javier was right. He craved this man, forbidden fruit in a garden of glass ceilings. But fear had poisoned it. "I can't lose you," he whispered, breaking. Javier crossed to him, cupping his face. "Then don't. Choose us." They made love that night in the penthouse, slow and sacred, Javier's body a map Andrew memorized anew, every freckle, every sigh. Dawn found them entwined. Javier's head on Andrew's chest. Whatever comes, Javier murmured. We face it. But betrayal has teeth. The next week, as Andrew drafted a memo easing the fraternization clause, personal relationships, when disclosed, will be managed transparently, Voss struck. The proxy fight, old allies turning, whispers of a hostile bid from a rival firm. Voss cornered him in the boardroom, face carved from granite. You think you can rewrite the rules? Soften up on this. Lifestyle bullshit? Investors hate uncertainty. Hail. Especially queer drama. The slur landed like a slap. Andrew's vision tunneled. It's 2016. Voss. Not the Stonewall riots. Voss sneered. To them, it's the same. Resign quietly, or we drag you and your little lab rat through the mud. Andrew walked out, blood roaring, and drove to the High Line, where Javier waited on a bench, thermos of coffee steaming in the chill. It's over, Andrew said, sinking beside him. Voss knows everything. He wants me gone. Javier's arm wrapped around him. Solid. Then go. With me. The simplicity undid him. Andrew leaned in, forehead to Javier's. California? Or anywhere. Free. They sat there as the sun dipped. Lovers against the world's grind. The river murmuring below like a confessional. March arrived with a vengeance. Winds howling through the canyons of steel and stone, mirroring the tempest in Andrew's soul. The proxy battle raged in smoke-filled backrooms and encrypted emails, Voss marshalling his old guard like a feudal lord, while Andrew courted institutional investors with pitches laced in humility and vision. Voss and Hale isn't one man's fiefdom, he told a room of hedge fund titans over steak at Del Frisco's. It's a legacy. And legacies evolve. They nodded, pens scratching notes. But their eyes flicked to the elephant, the scandal, the policy flip, the unspoken queerso. Javier became his anchor, holed up in the penthouse with a borrowed laptop, hacking through financial models and morale boosters for the team. He'd cook simple things. Tras con pollo that filled the air with cumin and memory, then they'd eat on the balcony, legs tangled under a throw blanket. Javier's stories of LA sunsets a balm against the gray. Nights were fevered sacraments, Andrew on his knees in the shower, water cascading as he took Javier deep, throat working with a devotion that left them both trembling. You're my salvation, Andrew gasped once. Javier's fingers gentle in his wet hair, pulling him up for a kiss that tasted of soap and surrender. But salvation cracks under siege. Elena defected mid-month, called into Voss's orbit with promises of a corner office elsewhere. She confessed tearfully over the phone. He's got dirt? Andrew. On you. On Javier. Photos from a gala. You two? Too close. And worse, that old internship thing with Marcus. He dug it up. Andrew's world tilted. The penthouse spinning. Why tell me? Because you're family. And this city's no place for half-lives. She hung up, leaving him staring at the skyline, betrayal's blade twisting fresh. He confronted Voss the next day in the old man's Upper East Side brownstone, a relic of Gilded Age excess with crystal decanters and oil portraits glowering down. Voss poured brandy, smug as a cat with cream. Sit. Put. Let's end this charade. Andrew stayed standing, fists balled. The photos. Elena. You playing dirty? Voss chuckled. Dirty? This is business. You want to parade your inclinations? Fine. But not on my dime. Resign. Take your severance. Start a rainbow startup in San Fran. Leave the real work to real men. The venom seeped. Old wounds reopening. Andrew thought of his father, a steelworker from Pittsburgh who died clutching a Bible, whispering "Be strong," son, without ever knowing the half of it. This isn't the 50s. Voss. The world's changed. Has it? Voss leaned forward. I mean, your stock's down 8%. Investors spook easy. One whiff of scandal, and poof, legacy gone. He slid a folder across the desk. NDAs, buyouts, a gag order thicker than fog. Sign. Or I bury you both. Andrew left without signing, the folder burning a hole in his briefcase. Back home, Javier read it in silence, face hardening. He's bluffing. We go public, preempt him. Public. Andrew's laugh was hollow. As what? The gay power couple tanking a Fortune 500. As us. Javier's voice was fire. Authentic. Human. The board eats scandal, they choke on truth. He pulled Andrew close, hands firm on his waist. I've got your back. Always. The decision crystallized over wine that night. Javier's foot tracing Andrew's ankle under the table. We announce together, Andrew said. Resolve settling like ballast. The policy changes. Relationship. Full transparency. Javier's grin was sunlight. And if they fire you, then we burn it down. Or build anew. They sealed it with a kiss that deepened into urgency. Javier lifting him onto the counter. Plates clattering to the floor as he entered him slow. Eyes locked. Andrew's cries echoed. Pleasure laced with fear. Javier's whispers a litany. I got you. We got this. The press conference was set for Friday. A neutral hotel ballroom off Park Avenue. Wires humming with Bloomberg and CNBC embeds. Andrew rehearsed in the mirror, suit impeccable, voice steady, while Javier paced in chinos and a button-down. Curls tamed for once. You look like a senator, Javier teased, straightening Andrew's tie. Their kiss was brief. Church. Elena's parting gift, a burner phone for emergencies. The room filled fast, reporters in rumpled suits, analysts tapping iPads, Voss's proxies lurking in the back like vultures. Andrew stepped to the podium at noon, Javier at his side, hand brushing his in silent solidarity. Flashbulbs popped as he cleared his throat. Thank you for coming. Today, Voss and Hale announces not just a policy shift, but a commitment to integrity. He laid it out, the fraternization clause revised to protect, not punish, the whistleblower exoneration, and then the gut punch. Personal lives have no place in professional sabotage. To that end, I'm disclosing my own. Javier Ruiz and I are in a committed relationship. We've navigated this privately, but transparency builds trust. Questions? Chaos erupted, hands shooting up. Shouts overlapping. Mr. Pelt. Does this violate your own rules? Mr. Booze. Is this why the leak was buried? Javier fielded some. Come as a monk. His arm slipping around Andrew's waist mid-answer. A quiet claim. The cameras loved it. Lenses zooming like predators. But Voss's counterstrike landed that afternoon. A press release from the board. Voss's signature bold. Due to recent disclosures compromising leadership stability, Andrew Hale has been relieved of duties effective immediately. Stock plummeted 12% in after hours. Headlines screaming CEO ousted in gay scandal bombshell. Andrew read it in the green room. Javier's hand on his shoulder. Bastard moved fast. We fight. But as they exited into a scrum of mics, a shout pierced, Andrew, is it true Voss has tapes from your internship days? Extortion? The world froze. Javier's face drained. Andrew's stomach lurched. Tapes? Marcus? Voss had lied. He'd weaponized history. They pushed through to the car. Doors slamming on the frenzy. Javier's voice tight. What tapes? Not now. Andrew's mind reeled. Pieces slotting, Voss's digging. Elena's dirt. Betrayal layered on betrayal. Had she sold them out fully? The drive to the penthouse was silent. Javier's eyes on the side mirror. Paranoia creeping. Inside. The dam broke. Talk, Javier demanded, pacing the living room. That internship, what happened? Andrew sank onto the couch, head in hands. The guy. Marcus. We hooked up. He got fired. I buried it. Voss must have used it. Javier stopped, hurt etching deep. And you never told me? After everything? I was ashamed. The confession hung. Still am. Javier knelt before him, hands on knees. Ashamed of love? Or of him making you feel small? His voice softened. Andrew, you're not that kid anymore. You're the man who just outed us to the world. Tears pricked. Andrew pulled him up, burying his face in Javier's neck. I love you. Good. I do. The words tumbled free. A flood. Javier held him, rocking gentle. Then let me in. All the way. They made it to the bedroom. Shedding clothes like sins. Javier's touch reverent, kisses to old scars. Fingers mapping vulnerabilities. Andrew flipped them, taking control, sinking onto Javier with a moan that bordered sob. They moved as one. Slow burn to inferno. Climax crashing in waves of release and revelation. Morning brought war councils, lawyers circling wagons. PR spins on authenticity over scandal. But Voss escalated, leaking the tapes, grainy audio of a young Andrew's panicked call to HR post Marcus, edited to imply coercion. Twitter ignited, Hail hypocrite trending, investors fleeing like rats. Javier fielded calls from his VC network. Voice steady. We're pivoting. New venture, Ruiz Hale Bioinnovations. Crowdfund it. Andrew nodded, but doubt nod. What if no one bites? Then we bootstrap. Tacos and tenacity. Javier's grin was defiant, pulling Andrew into a kiss that tasted of futures unwritten. The climax crested midweek. A showdown Voss orchestrated at the NYSE. Symbolic ground. Final offer, the old man growled over a private line. Or I release the full file, your father's homophobic rants from the obit interviews. Painting you as the family black sheep. Andrew's blood iced. Dad, gone a decade. Reduced to ammo. You son of a business. Hail. He told Javier on the balcony. Rain pattering like judgment. He has dad. Javier's jaw clenched. Then we end him. Publicly. The counterpresser was reckless. Andrew at a queer advocacy gala in Chelsea. Javier beside him. No suits, just jeans and tees. Arms linked. Voss wants to drag my past? Andrew said to the crowd. Mike's hot. Fine. Here's the truth, I grew up hiding. Like too many of us. My dad? He loved me. Flaws and all. Voss twists that for power. But power without heart? It's dust. Cheers erupted. Phones lighting the room like stars. Javier took the mic next. Andrew's not just my partner, he's my hero. We're launching Ruiz Hale tomorrow. Join us. Or get out of the way. The video went viral. Shares spiking not for Voss and Hale, but for their Kickstarter, $2 million in hours. Celebs pledging. Queer orgs amplifying. Voss's bid crumbled. Board fracturing as millennials on it jumped ship. But victory's edge is sharp. That night, back in the penthouse, now there's... Truly, Andrew's phone buzzed, Marcus. Saw the presser. Proud of you. Dad would have been too. Tears came unbidden. Javier held him through it. Their bodies entwining in quiet affirmation. Love a slow tide washing clean. Yet dawn brought the knife, Elena's email. Time-stamped 3 a.m. I'm sorry. Voss paid me to plant the internship file. But the tapes? Bluff. Forgive me? Betrayal's aftershock. Elena. Family. Andrew forwarded it to lawyers. Javier's hand squeezing his. We let it go. Rise above. April bloomed, tentative in the concrete jungle. Cherry blossoms defiant along the FDR. A fragile pink against the grind. Andrew and Javier's new venture took root in a Soho loft, exposed brick and beanbag chairs. A far cry from mahogany boardrooms, humming with coders and biologists. The air thick with possibility and cold brew. The Kickstarter soared past $10 million. Backers including a queer billionaire from Silicon Valley who wired seed funding with a wink. Build what Voss couldn't, humanity. Andrew traded wingtips for sneakers. Javier's hand in his during pitch decks. Their story the hook, from scandal to startup. Love as the ultimate merger. Mornings were rituals, Javier grinding beans in the kitchenette. Andrew scrolling headlines over oatmeal, Voss and Hale stabilizing under a puppet seal. The old man retiring to Palm Beach with a gag clause and a limp legacy. Schadenfreude tasted sweet, but Andrew savored sweeter things. Javier's sleepy kiss. Curls tickling his chin. Bodies slotting together on the futon before the team arrived. You're my board now, Andrew murmured once. Javier's laugh vibrating through him as he thrust lazy. Morning light gilding their sweat. But ghosts lingered. Elena's apology festered. Unanswered. Andrew drafted replies, forgiveness, fury, deleting each. She sold us, he told Javier over Thai takeout. Cartons steaming on the coffee table. Javier chewed thoughtful. People break under pressure. Doesn't make her monster. Or you fool for trusting. You're too forgiving. Andrew's fork paused. Vulnerability cracking. Javier set his down. Leaning in. Just seen enough family drama to know grudges poison the well. Call her. Close it. The call came late. Loft empty save for the hum of servers. Elena picked up on the second ring. Voice small. Andrew. It's me. Silence stretched. Why? The sob. Muffled. That. Mom's treatments. Voss offered. I took the easy out. More tears. I leaked the real whistleblower to you first. Tried to balance it. Andrew's throat tightened. You gutted me. Elena. This. I know. Quit Voss last week. Freelancing now. If there's a place. Not yet. But softer, maybe someday. He hung up. Chest lighter. Javier waiting with open arms. Proud of you, Javier whispered. Guiding him to the rug. Undressing him slow. Their lovemaking was tender, Andrew on top. Javier's legs hooked over his shoulders. Eyes locked in a gaze that said healed. Climax whispered rather than roared. A quiet crest leaving them boneless. Fingers laced. The humanistic turn came unbidden. In the quiet weave of days. They hired Marcus part-time, financial advisor. His steady hand guiding equity splits. Beers after work where old stories aired without shame. You were my first real heartbreak, Marcus admitted one night at a dive. Javier at the bar fetching rounds. Andrew clinked bottles. Mine. But look, full circle. Javier returned. Sliding in beside Andrew. Arm casual around his waist. Talking ghosts. Marcus grinned. Nah. Just gratefuls. To second chances. Summer simmered in the loft, a hive of breakthroughs. A CRISPR tweak for rare genetic disorders. Trials greenlit by the FDA on diversity clauses. Andrew insisted, no more cookie-cutter subjects. Press shifted, queer CEOs redefining biotech in Forbes. Javier's face on the cover. Andrew's beside. Hands clasped in the shot. They framed it. Hung crooked above the door. But romance deepened in stolen breaths. A weekend in the Hamptons. Borrowed from a backer, white sands and salt air. Javier teaching Andrew to surf. Wipeouts ending in laughter and kisses that tasted of ocean. Evenings on the deck. Stars pricking the velvet sky. Javier strumming guitar. Voice husky on Wonderwall. Today was the greatest. Andrew joined. Off-key. Their harmony imperfect but theirs. Conflict's embers flared once more. Subtle, a rival firm poaching talent. Whispers of sabotage echoing Voss's playbook. Andrew woke sweating one night. Nightmare of boardroom firings morphing to empty cribs. Javier gone. He shook Javier awake. Bearing against his chest. What if we fail? What if I'm not enough? Javier's arms tightened. Heartbeat steady. You're everything. We failed? We try again. But together? Unbreakable. He kissed Andrew's brow. Then lower. Mouth trailing fire down his body. Taking him in with a reverence that banished shadows. Andrew came with a shudder. Javier's name a prayer. Then returned the gift. Slow worship until Javier arched. Spilling with a gasp that rent the night. Autumn leaves turned. Marking a year since that first kiss in the rain. Ruiz Hale hit $50 million valuation. Team swelling to 50. A holiday party in the loft spilling onto fire escapes. Eggnog laced with Javier's secret tequila. Andrew pulled him aside mid-toast. Into the supply closet, ironic echo, kissing him fierce against metal shelves. Marry me, he breathed. No ring. Just raw intent. Javier's eyes widened, then softened to joy. Yes. Hell yes. Cheers erupted outside. As if the city knew. Confetti of possibility. The wedding was small. Humanistic core. A Brooklyn courthouse. Marcus best man. Elena matron of honor, forgiven. Her smile tentative but true. Vows exchanged under October sun. Javier's I do, laced with that rumble. Andrew's choked with tears. Reception at Javier's family taqueria. East LA transplants flying in. Toasts in Spanglish. Dances to Selena that left feet sore and hearts full. Years folded forward. The company a beacon, clinics in underserved hoods. Grants for queer youth in STEM. Andrew. Silver threading his temples at 40. Still craved Javier's touch. Their bed a sanctuary of graying curls and knowing hands. One evening. Post-merger champagne. Javier pulled him to the balcony. City eternal below. Remember the policy? Andrew laughed. Arm around his waist. The one I broke? The one that freed us. Javier turned. Hazel eyes deep. Love you. So. Love you more. Mad scientist. They kissed. Slow as the Hudson's flow. The world they defied now theirs to shape. No empires crumbled. Only rebuilt, stronger. Human. In the end, discipline yielded to desire. And what was forbidden became the foundation of forever.